below zero hits us in line. Built for the cold, you say? That ain't right. Too cold for the average Joe, just right for those who hear the show. In the image of greatness you were made, but taught by the world to be played. A new generation, we're building. No victims, we're creating. Them haters, keep hating, cause Gen Zero, we blazing. Welcome to another episode of the Built for the Cold podcast. Too cold for the average Joe, just right from me and the listeners and viewers of this show, where we've been in a series called Separation Season. For those of you, again, who haven't been tuned in here, Separation Season, all it means is the people that are taking 1 to 2 things they're doing a little different around the holidays to fast forward their success going into 2026, whether it's what they're doing personally in their health habits, their finances, being more disciplined in that area, to whatever it might be, better relationships, little habits they're picking up during this time of year while the rest of the world decides to slow down and treat the holidays as like 2 or 3 months. Okay, so that's separation season. Now, up till now, what we talked about is handling adversity. Okay, that's the first episode of this series that we've been kind of reviewing on, hey, it's not about kind of what happens to you, it's what happens through you and how you choose to see your situations, even on a mundane daily basis. Okay, then we talked about we don't get in life what we want, we get what we accept. Right, that includes all the habits that we accept. It's the different things. Everyone talks about all these great things that they want, their goals and dreams and aspirations, but your level of life is only reflected based off of the habits and dreams and goals you're actually willing to put action into and what you accept. Okay. The third thing we talked about was actually how to view and frame our mind around fear, what we're actually afraid of. I argued that we're not afraid of failure as much as we think. We're actually more afraid of success. And how do you actually hack your brain and reframe your brain around success so you put yourself in the best position possible to make success actually feel like the less risky option, because that's how our brains are wired. Okay, so today what we're going to talk about is how to actually stack and build consistency, right? Because consistency built over time like smashes a 1 day of intensity any day of the week. It's not the person that goes to the gym for 4 hours on a Saturday. It's the person that goes for 15 to 20 minutes 20 times a month, isn't it? It's not the person who does 400 push-ups one day. It's the person that does 10 push-ups every single day, regardless of how they feel, right? Because consistency is also about it's not about how consistent you are when things are going really well for you, like everything's stacked well, like everything's going really good. It's how consistent can you be in the hard times when the floor of life falls out from underneath you. How consistent are you then? So we want to cover a couple things that I think will help us today. I already talked about this before. Is consistency is greater than intensity. That holds true for everything, right? You are what you do consistently, not what you do with intensity. I see so many people get hyped up around, especially the new year, with like their fitness goals. Hey, I'm going to change this year. And you don't even have the habits or the frameworks or the systems built to actually sustain something consistently. You burn out in 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden you changed your habits so radically. We'll talk about that today. You can't change things so radically because your body can't keep up, and your brain and your mindset is just not built for it yet. You got to expand your capacity slowly over time. Okay. We also talked about this, and this actually pertains to it quite a bit. So many people overestimate what they can do in 2 weeks and underestimate what they can do in 2 years. Let me repeat that one time. People overestimate what they can do in 2 weeks. They think they can achieve all these goals and all these financial things and do all this in the gym and eat like this. And all of a sudden, like, I'm in microwave society. I want results as fast as possible. But they underestimate what they can do in 2 years with consistency. Okay. Here's another thing I've noticed with consistency is that momentum is actually just really the ball rolling down the hill for you. You either have things you're stacking over time consistently that are the momentum of putting you in a position to have the success you want, or by default, you have momentum working against you, making it harder and harder and harder. It's like rolling down the opposite side of the hill. We want it to roll down forward, but for many of us, if we don't actually prevent that ball from falling backward, it's almost like we're holding a boulder, I guess, where we say on this hill. But if we continue to slowly slack, what happens is the ball starts to roll back against us, and it takes so much more effort to push the ball back to the hill to then roll down the other side. And so many of us are doing that by default. I don't believe many listeners on this show are, at least I know you're trying not to, but many people you see around you are. And they're letting that ball just fall backward and backward and backward. And then 20 years go by, and then all of a sudden they recognize they haven't lived up to the two they could be. And there's a lot of regret that comes with that. There's a lot of things that people just don't realize. They wake up one day and like, man, I sure wish I lived life that I wanted to live and not what everyone else said I should. That's what happens, right? So that's momentum. Consistency is also a personal barometer of character. By just looking at someone, when I meet them, when I talk to them for the first time, like my fiance and I were at Disney the other day, and literally just seeing like how people act, how people, you just watch people for a little bit and you can see how not just disciplined they are, but how consistent they are. You can just tell, you can hear in the conversations how people talk, how people like view things, how people just look. You can just tell, as that person, do they have the character of consistency or the character of drifting? The character of kind of just like self-indulgence, the consumer society that we're in. Just the next thing to just get some kind of spike of dopamine, right? You can tell. Literally, consistency is the barometer of the character you have or don't have. The other funny part about consistency, too, is I've seen this. I see a lot of people talk. They talk on Instagram. Well, apparently today, everyone that's had some minuscule amount of success wants to be the next influencer of something, which is fine. I'm not against that. I'm totally for people having a voice. I'm thankful for the ability to kind of share my story through this. And by no means am I as successful as many of the people I look up to, right? So by all means, I want that to be there. But what's funny is I can tell very simply the people that are kind of like talking a lot, they just kind of, gabber and tell all their friends one day they're going to do this. Hey, this is what they're doing lately. Hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And it's like, you don't even ask the question. Like I already know like a couple like former friends from the past that would just kind of come up to me sometimes and tell me all the good things they're doing, which is great. But I also didn't ask. So I'm already wondering in my head, what are you compensating for by trying to tell me all this? It's very easy to read people from that standpoint. I mean, at least for me, because I've been around a lot of people for a long period of time who have actually had a lot of results. People that have results don't talk. Michael Jordan didn't talk. Kobe didn't talk. People that have to like talk are overcompensating for something. And what I found is that like they report to themselves in the mirror every single night and they're speaking to themselves and recognizing that they're not actually who they say they are, but they feel they can fool everyone else. You know what the funny part is? And the sad part too, is that when the mirror at night, they can't fool themselves. And so what happens is over time, you start to lie to yourself so much, you start to believe everything you're saying is true. But then your brain's smart enough to recognize that it's not true because you aren't doing that. But again, you can fool everyone else. You can't fool yourself. The worst feeling to have is you not being able to be proud of the person you are in the mirror. By the way, guilty, been there tons of times, right? And I still fight that all the time, like looking in the mirror, like, can I truly say I've been as consistent as I could be? And I challenge myself and I'm very hard on myself in that area because I know the harder I am on myself, the easier life tends to get. The harder you are on yourself and the higher standards you hold yourself to, the easier life gets. The reason why life is so hard for many people right now is because they're so easy on themselves. Their standards are so low. It's never been lower. The standards of a human being to this day and age is like, man, if you're just like willing to like walk up the stairs, me and Amanda were literally on the ferry to Disney or whatever, and there was like an opportunity. You just had to go up like 15 steps, right? Just to get to like the second level. That was the only way to get up the elevator to like the ferry so you could get a better view. 15 steps got in the way of like 200 people walking in front of us. Not a single person went up the stairs. Not a single person. No one went up the stairs. And I literally looked at her. I'm like, is this really what we've gotten to? By the way, a lot of people didn't look like I could make it up the stairs. Number one, why the heck are you spending money at Disney? You should be doing something else. Anyway, side rant. But that's the thing. The craziest part about this mirror analogy is when people look at the mirror, they're not happy about themselves or not happy about what they actually see because, again, they can't fool themselves. They think that time go away from the mirror or numbing the reality of what they see in the mirror with like drinking on the weekends, excessively going out with friends, like doing all these different kind of like mind numbing dopamine inducing activity is going to change the view in the mirror. But the harsh reality is it doesn't. In fact, when you go look in that mirror again, after you chose to ignore it for like 10 years, you come back, you don't typically like what you see. If nothing changes in your life, nothing changes. Best case scenario, you're in the same spot. For most people, there's no progression or regression. There's only regression in that scenario. So what do you have to do? You have to put yourself in a position to start stacking habits to roll that ball down the other side of the hill. And I'm going to give you 10 steps you can actually do today to actually do that yourself. Okay. Here's the first 5. What first you need to decide in your life is the result that you want. What do you actually want? But more importantly, why? Do not decide, number 2, based off what some coach or mentor told you to do. oh, you need to get better at here. Obviously I coach a lot of people in sales. You need to get better at sales. What if you don't want to be in sales forever? That doesn't help you. So you need to like actually question everything that even myself, right? If I'm encouraging you or you even receive coaching from me, question for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. Question yourself. Why do you actually want that result? Not just because someone else on Instagram showed up. And I'm not going to name names, but I know a lot of influencers people follow. And oh, he said this, so I'm just going to follow that. Do you understand why for yourself? If you don't, where are you following it? Okay. Understand the context of your own life and apply it to that first. Okay. Why are you doing it? All right. Number 3. Now that my goal, and I had I can reference to a different video, a different time on like goal setting for all of you if you have any questions, but you have to figure out, okay, the result that you want, but what habits do you actually have to build into your life to support that? Not just the habits, but the systems to support the habits. Again, James Clear talks about it. Never rise to the level of your goal. You fall to the level of your systems. So what habits are you doing to support the action you need to take to get to that result that you want? Okay. Number 4, you need to rewire your brain because it's not just about, okay, all right, I understand the systems. I understand the habits you're wanting to do. I need to put my brain and rewire my mindset on what does a person pursuing those habits and actions, how do they actually think? What do they think? They don't just one day wake up and just like start acting, thinks a certain way. A friend of mine had mentioned this once in an analogy. He's a sales trainer. Many of you might know him, but I'm just going to leave names off of this just for the sake of privacy. But he said once like, hey, you take 2 people, right? And you can have like a fit marathon runner and a couch potato, right? And have them swap brains. What do you think happens in 6 months? Well, would it be fair to say the person that is really in shape but got the overweight person's brain eventually builds the habits of the overweight person? And is it fair to say the person that was overweight but has the fit person's mind actually eventually becomes fit? So you have to rewire your brain around, okay, how do I get my brain to actually accept and support these actions and habits? Number 5 is super important. Harold talks about it, but I will here because it's beyond the most important thing probably of everything I'm going to give you here. You need to plan for grace and failure. What does that mean? There's a reason why in my 90 frames free habit program, by the way, obviously I'm not trying to, you don't have to do whatever. It's just a habits program that I've felt over time. Like how am I been able to be in the gym for almost straight and never miss a single month because of that program? How am I able to actually overcome so many things financially, like based off how I was born, how I was taught, how I was raised, would not set me up for kind of where we've been. And I wouldn't even recognize now compared to where I was before that program. So I want to give it to you for free so you can actually start building some of these habits in your life. Anyway, at the 90 frames forward framework habits building program. Again, feel free to message me if you have questions on it. But you have to plan for grace and failure. That's why I built in there 5 grace days, right? Because think of this way, the best sports teams ever, whoever has a perfect season, so many people are chasing perfection. Like you absolutely can't fail in order to get like success and results. So I say plan for failure. Doesn't mean you intend to fail, but for the days that just the floor falls out from underneath you in life, sometimes just planning for grace gives you a little less pressure to just realize, hey, I can just jump back on the horse and continue, right? I think the Warriors, I think they had like the best winning season, or maybe it was the Chicago Bulls. Like they had, what, 8 losses in 1 year? Don't quote me on that, sports fans or whatever, but 8 or 9 losses. That means of like the 82 games they had, they only lost like 8 or 9 times. I mean, like the season absolutely sucked. No, it was one of the best ever, right? But many of you treat like building habits like you need a perfect season. No, you don't. Just don't lose most of the time. That's it. And losing is perspective, right? Because if you did the habit you said you're going to do, it's like it's not even measured on the result. It's measured on just did you do it? How hard is that, right? So that's how to think and act, okay? Next thing you need to do is start small. Sometimes people just like see, like, oh, I haven't worked out in 10 years, but yeah, do 2 hours. That sounds stupid. How about you just do 10 minutes and just like show up, maybe do some cardio and just, it sounds so ridiculously small. People are like, how the heck could you ever get the results of that? See, it's not about results right away. It's about actually sticking to an action that puts you in a better position to get to the next action that then stacks over time to all of a sudden the person that is now in the gym for 45-minute workouts started at 10 to 15. People don't recognize that, but that's people just want to like build consistency into their life all of a sudden. It's all in the small, daily, insignificant seemingly small little actions that actually stacked over time gets people the result. Not the person that goes in with intensity and radically changes their whole life and just one day I'm just going to do this. I think there's something to say for it, like the 75 hard program or different things. Great programs, by the way. Like they work very effectively, but there's so much else in your life that could get in the way of that. And because people fail those types of programs, they just don't even want to attempt trying again because they could never see themselves past it. And that's not what we want, right? So start small, stack your habits. Okay. Number 7, do not evaluate the results you're getting every single day or every week. Like when you are going to pursue some kind of habit that actually stacks in your life to put you in a position to actually have success you want, whether it's your fitness or your family or your finances, all the different areas, your faith, it could be any of those. Anytime you take on those habits, you need to not look up every couple days to see, hey, what are the results? It's like the person that literally starts planting a flower. They put the seed in the ground, and every like 3 or 4 days, they dig up the seed, wondering if the flower has grown. Well, every day you dig up that seed, like there's no way for the roots to take root into the soil. So now you're just like have to undo it again and start doing it again. I see so many people do that. We're like, give it at least 90 days. Or you could use the Alex Hormozy rule, right? Hey, 100 for 100 days, 100 of whatever it might be, 100 for 100 days, the rule of 1,000. Okay, that might be one way to start, but do not look up like so quick every other day for the results you have or don't have yet. Number 8, plan for what could get in the way. This is a little different than planning for grace and failure because you're almost like you don't anticipate when that might be, but you have to plan for like, okay, what habits or actions do I have now that are actually working against and putting me in a system against what I need to have what I want. Right? It could be habits that you have with friends on the weekends. By the way, friends are some of the biggest reasons why people don't move forward. So be very careful on who you choose to have as friends. And again, I know most of you listeners, for a lot of people that want to tune out on that, that's fine. But I know for the people that actually want to win, you understand that very, very, very clear, right? You understand that so well. So you have to figure out, okay, what is going to get in the way of me doing this? And I need to set up systems to not let that get in the way. Okay, that's number 8. Number 9, based off number 8, and more importantly, even number 5, if I do fail or I end up something does get in the way one time, how do I let that change my perception on moving forward? Do I let it define that, how, man, I'm never going to be successful, like a lot of people do when they fail a program or whatever? Or do I just get back on the horse? It's that simple. Again, it goes back to how do we handle adversity? Hey, if something happens we weren't planning, okay, not a big deal. Brush it off. Continue as if you never failed. If you have that perspective, you'll be able to actually overcome. Number 10, fight as much as you can. If you're building and stacking a new habit in your life, fight to never miss twice. Never miss 2 days in a row, right? Fight to have that kind of momentum. If something comes up, happens one day, great, forgive yourself, move on, but fight to not let it happen 2 days in a row. And I believe if you follow these 10 steps, as solid as you can, even if you fail like 30, 50, 70% of them, you don't believe that following a couple of these steps wouldn't put you in a better position than you are now? See, it's not about perfection, my friends. It's about the slow incremental progression that many of you aren't willing to do because your ego gets in the way and thinks change has to be something radical. No, it's change by 1,000 actions. Just like it works the opposite, death by 1,000 cuts, failure by 1,000 cuts, average by 1,000,000 cuts, mediocre by 1,000,000 different cuts working against you. So hope this helps today. I know a bit of a little longer one. I want to give you something tactical you can do. What are 1 to 2 things you can even follow from this system to actually separate yourself during separation season? And we'll see you on the next. This is where winners learn to be great. Built for the cold, you say? That damn straight. The lessons, the love, the insights from above. Hope you take them and grow, even with another cup of Joe. Thank you for dropping in and listening to the show.